morning, esteemed guests and the students, my colleagues. Please, let me at the outset acknowledge that this particular session, the way we had designed, was mainly to apprise you about the progress which has been made, if at all, in Indo-US counterterrorism effort, and if it has not progressed well, what are those challenges in terms of fulfilling to the requirements of the commitment made by both India and US in the counterterrorism efforts? What has happened over the years that all the major deliberations on bilateral counterterrorism efforts have taken place at the track 1 level. We do not have sufficient information in terms of taking a stock of what really has gone into it. What is it that really make this whole effort more intensifying? A lot of these issues are again becoming a part of discourse. One single element in the counterterrorism effort has been intelligence information sharing. What I will do is, I will make an attempt in terms of giving you an assessment about the challenges to intelligence information sharing, especially between India and the United States. The mechanisms which exist at the governmental level were discussed by us. I would like to take a case study of Department of Homeland Security of the United States and our Ministry of Home Affairs in our context, that what were the things which were envisaged, and what were those areas where they had a lot of convergences, but somehow they have not been able to really move ahead in helping, especially India from the US side, and also see that how India would really be feeling confident, especially from the threats which keeps emanating from its border, and that is how the things are becoming more and more challenging. See, the very fact that the US accepted that they require India in terms of sharing intelligence information was only because of the threat which were seen or perceived as a common threat, and the imperatives for global peace and security, stability, that those imperatives were converging from each other's perception. And in that, what has happened that many of these mechanisms which got evolved over the years obviously has been able to help the US to prevent the threat to happen, because as you know that since 9/11, no threat has happened, no attack has happened on the US soil, and they have been able to prevent all the threats. It's not that the US is not on the radar screen of Al-Qaeda. US very much exists on the radar screen of Al-Qaeda in terms of their plan or making the US more vulnerable in terms of attacking the US soil. So the changing dimension of terrorism, which is becoming a part of deliberation across the globe, and its correlation to the various mechanisms which both the countries have evolved, these again require to understand the intention and fundamental goal of those terrorist networks. The US obviously has both the strength in the field of information dominance and information assurance because of its inherent acquisition of a number of technology. It has been using the technology to really see that how best it can really have all the information where it can really use those and prevent the attack to happen. And in that scenario, what has happened that the technology which US uses mostly to gather intelligence, these are largely the space-based technology, and how those space-based technology help the United States to see that it has sufficient and adequate information, the intelligence information to evolve a policy guideline, and that US has been successful largely. It's not that the attack is not imminent, the attack is really imminent, but at the same time, they have been able to find out the ways by which they could prevent those attacks. So ultimately, India, as you know that India again has been a victim of terrorism all these years. India really has to see that how best India addresses to many of the challenges which keeps emanating from India's neighborhood, mainly Pakistan. And despite knowing it well, that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism, despite acknowledgement by the United States that Pakistan is the epicenter of terrorism, lot of these developments which have happened in the last 1 decade in particular, especially in terms of the proliferating the terrorist network or establishing some newer type of networks, these really are not prevented, and these have not been able to really see that these are not going to take a shape in Pakistan. And that is how the effort which is being made in terms of seeing that how many of these terrorist networks can really get dismantled, the pressure which is required mainly by the United States to be mounting on Pakistan, these again are the part of deliberation. As a part of counter-terrorism effort and the intelligence information sharing, I would like to take the case study of the Department of Homeland Security and the commitment which the Department of Homeland Security had made, especially in terms of moving ahead and cooperating with India. So a lot of these things really were largely to see that how the dialogue, which really became a part of the major activity in terms of sharing information, these really can keep continuing. And Ministry of Home Affairs from our side again became the nodal point for the Department of Homeland Security to see how both these agencies can discuss on many of the challenges dealing with counter-terrorism effort. One of these important element in those deliberations was capacity building initiative. And capacity building initiative, especially from both sides, the commitment was that how best US really would be helping India and in the building of capacity, especially in terms of, even I will take again one example of a very important thing, that is image analysis. As you know, as I told you, that most of this information which the US gather is all satellite based, space based, and they have been able to achieve a capability where their analysis on the various images which are obviously becoming a part of daily routine for the United States and India, the analysis which they do by and large is almost true to what exactly they have done. So each of these things which they wanted to see that how best more of exchanges happens at the expert level, especially at the governmental level, the governmental experts visiting the United States and learning many of these tactics, that has not really been augmented on all these years. In the last 5 years, the expectation was that India would really get the maximum benefit in terms of getting this people trained. That has not happened. So again, in a very limited way, the capacity building initiative has taken place, and that is still seen to be a larger challenge for this ongoing Indo-US counter-terrorism effort. Then, as you know that since it is becoming some sort of a global problem, terrorism certainly is not a bilateral problem between India and the US, it's a global problem. So US and India together were able to put their effort in terms of evolving a forum, which the Earth also referred, Global Counterterrorism Forum. And this Global Counterterrorism Forum was again to share the experiences of each of the nations, how they have been countering terrorism, how they have been sharing the intelligence information, and what were the obstacles coming on their way in terms of universalizing those real-time information in terms of the policy guideline. And once you talk at the multilateral level, the challenges are immense, because each of the nation state would not like to provide you with all the information relating to their strategic infrastructure or their strategic installation. We don't have any clue whether India has been able to give all the information regarding its strategic installations, or the US has provided all the information relating to their strategic locations. The idea was to see that how best through those analyses, through those understanding of the locations, how best you can really bring certain best practices which the US has used all these years and prevent such terrorist attack which is imminent, which cannot be ruled out. So those were the ideas which really could not work. At the multilateral effort, at the multilateral level, the challenges even become more immense. The very fact that the US-India Homeland Security Dialogue started was largely to enhance a cooperation which would really be seen as a part of development in getting the information or saying the information from each other. Here, what really they wanted to do, they discussed about the various, they first articulated all the threats which they envisaged as a part of their articulation of those threats, And one of these important thing was how best they can really build capacity in cyber security. Cyber security became a very common threat in terms of seeing that terrorists basically will attack the cyber, and that really will become a part of challenge. Then second thing which they really were discussing, which Muniz referred yesterday, that was critical infrastructure protection. Critical infrastructure protection and cyber security, these two became the major focus of the deliberation which happened between the Ministry of Home Affairs and Department of Homeland Security. And ultimately, as you can see, it is more competitive in terms of sharing those details, because ultimately more sharing of those information in terms of how US has been preventing their cyber or their network will make US more vulnerable. If India shares, India will also become vulnerable. So a lot of these technical details really are yet to be sorted out by both the countries, and a lot of issues with regard to that critical infrastructure protection are still from India's side. We are very nascent in terms of understanding that as a security challenge. I think last year only India was able to form a center, and certain policy guideline has become a part of deliberation among the governmental institutions, but still we do not have any robust method by which we can feel confident that our power grid is safe, our nuclear reactors are safe, our the banking system institutions are safe, our railway network is safe, and these are all highly probable threats which can really be attacked by the terrorist group, and all these things. Again, the cyber becomes important. Just to take a case study of railway reservation, and as you know that how panicky Indians are. Yours is suppose A2 bogie number, and when you go to the station it becomes S13, because terrorists really have penetrated into those networks, and they have changed all the seat numbers, and they have booked more than whatever is the capacity of the train. I think people will die in a stampede. The way Indians are, Indians basically, they do not really show that level of maturity, and they will just die in the stampede. So I think these are a lot of these challenges which are emanating from many of these factors which have become a part of deliberation at the governmental level. How best they can defend their critical infrastructure, how best they can defend their cyber security, and these are very, very important deliberation. The other part, which again became, I don't know, in a very focused manner, both Department of Homeland Security and the Ministry of Home Affairs brought this discussion on countering illicit finance. Countering illicit finance is the toughest challenge right now in terms of both the countries working together as a part of counter-terrorism effort. And this is again becoming an issue. The other important factors, which again I was reviewing the deliberations at the track 1 level, was global supply chain security, mega city policing, and then ultimately science and technology cooperation. Let me tell you that science and technology cooperation in terms of countering terrorism has been almost near to nil. It is yet to really evolve. So a lot of these rhetorics which become part of this dialogue, I don't know, it's very challenging for India to get it culminated into real action. Because again, as I started by saying that the US has made the whole world so competitive that every nation across the globe has been trying to really acquire more and more of intelligence information and hide it. Question of sharing becomes secondary for them. How much information the US can afford to share with India remains a question. And it will remain a question, and might be it will remain a mystery for us, because we are not a part of those deliberations. We can just guess. If something is not happening in a certain sector, means some information had come. India was able to evolve certain policy on time and had prevented such attack to happen. So I think many of these deliberation, especially in terms of sharing these things, have really been very slow, and one requires to really augment these. So I will just take some time in terms of emphasizing the role of technology in particular, because there are a lot of commitments which were made by the United States in terms of providing this cooperation from the technological angle, where India would again get benefit from. And these technologies were largely seen in the context of sensor system. As you know, India is very poor in developing sensor and high-tech electronic devices. And if you see, again, the censor thing has not really been delivered in terms of seeing that India really has those relevant sensors in place where it can help India in gathering intelligence. See, sensor system when I talk about, even to use the larger technical details of the intelligence gathering, that becomes very important. And then again, for that declaration of saying that certain satellite which India has deployed in the low Earth orbit are for military purposes, India technically has not done that. So again, India banks mostly on the image. Now the images are very easily available. As you know, even Google Plus has all the images, which you can really get that look, okay, this particular group was hiding here, and then again, overnight, it has moved to the other end of the spectrum. And that again, why they have moved to the other end, what exactly. So these type of image analysis which happens in India, largely it is done by the institution called NTRO, again is in a nascent stage. But US is the leader. Why it is the leader? Because many of the things which India has been doing now, US has started doing much before in the early part of 50s. The counterpart of National Technical Research Organization in the United States is National Security Agency, NSA, which was established in the year 1954 or 1953 during Eisenhower. So you can see the maturity which they have attained all these years and how they really have become the leader in terms of both information assurance and information dominance. And that is how they really would like to see that how best they can have lot of edge over the rest in the world. And India again finds a lot of difficulty because India still has been attempting to evolve in those sectors. And again, as you know that any partnership or any cooperation happens at a certain level of confidence and the level of capability, which in fact the US certainly is ahead, India is far below. So again, we have a lot of challenges from the technological angle in terms of sharing this intelligence information, and these are being seen as a major obstacle for India and in addressing the security questions largely from this terrorism angle. Other thing which I would like to say, this high technology cooperation group, which became a part of deliberation because of this bilateral counterterrorism effort. And in this, a lot of development has happened. I would like to say that high technology cooperation group includes the industry component, and we have seen a lot of changes. In 2004, the US exports to India, especially in terms of a lot of these challenges, were seen roughly to 24% things. In fact, it was seen as a part of challenge because of the policy which the US had in 2004, where the degree of export from the US to India on many of these strategic areas were roughly around 24%. That the US has now brought down to 0.02%. So that one big change we have seen in the last 10 years. But ultimately, the usage of those strategic technologies, especially from the intelligence gathering point of view, these are again remaining a question as far as India is concerned. And a lot of these issues are becoming very challenging for India, and the US in that regard has been trying to see that how through the yearly dialogue the things really are seen. And so even for Pakistan, see, Pakistan, if the US starts sharing all the information on Pakistan with India, I don't think there is going to be any problem which India has to really address, because India will have all the information regarding Pakistan's various other locations, their hideouts, especially for the terrorist network, and every information the US has because of those various mechanisms which they use. They use that national technical means. Largely, they do the spying through satellite, and through that they really acquire all the information of the not only this region but around the world. And that is how the US really has been able to build their capability. And India really has been trying to see that how best through these dialogues the capacity building is done in terms of not only getting their people trained, but also oriented towards how best they can use those technology which India has imported from the United States. And that again is in the form of evolution. So 2004 to 2014, if you make a survey of these 10 years, I think a lot of things which have happened in the counterterrorism area do not necessarily correspond with the requirements which India had articulated, and also it does not really bring much of confidence to India because of the degree at which the tentacles of terrorism also have been growing. So these again are all areas which requires more focus, especially in terms of how best you can correlate these requirements and evolve a pattern or mechanism which can really make India more and more confident in terms of addressing to these challenges, which are very, very imminent, cannot be ruled out. At the same time, India, for that matter, if you take, for example, 2008 as a case in point, again, 2008 event happened despite the fact that India had got the real-time information. But the use of that real-time information, which was supposed to be again implemented, that really India lacked. So the coordination, which is very, very essential in terms of between your human intelligence and the technical intelligence, especially the agency which really works in both these, they have to coordinate well. And unfortunately, India is very poor in coordination. If you see the success of the United States, and if India has to learn the lessons, especially in terms of addressing to these issues, I think one of the single element would be how best India can learn the best practices of the United States, because the US has really been able to coordinate not only the institutions which have been dealing with their homeland security, but also with the institutions which have been dealing with their external intelligence agencies. And CIA, the NSA, all these work in tandem in terms of the coordination. So I think when we talk about the capacity building which India has to do as a part of this ongoing bilateral counterterrorism effort, I think India has to really learn mostly from that point of view, that how best India can coordinate among the various agencies which are involved in intelligence gathering. I can name at least 6 to 8 agencies which are involved in gathering intelligence in India. But largely, if you take the research analysis wing as a part of external intelligence agency, and then again technical intelligence agency, you have NTRO, which I said, which is nascent, still in the process of evolution. It's only a decade old. So a lot of these issues are becoming part of larger challenge for augmenting and intensifying the bilateral cooperation between India and the US on intelligence sharing, intelligence information sharing. Because the US also expects India to really reciprocate on certain part of it, despite knowing it well that India has a lot of limitations in gathering those intelligence. So I think there is one again element which is the training part of it, and there again India has to really put across its personnel, see that how they really get trained in terms of becoming a good strategic analyst, good this intelligence analyst, and these are because they have to draw the inference. On a single particular area of concern, you will get at least 100 to 200 images. And how you are going to infer from your analysis very much depends upon what is the overall understanding from those images you are getting. So this again is being done by highly professional people, and that really helps in a way, because each of these reaches to the top level of the decision-making authority day to day. It's not that today it's over. It's like a dynamic process. And India has been attempting in that regard, but it has to be augmented. And through this cooperation, I think India certainly would intensify this bilateral effort. I would like to expand the element of this network security, and that is again is one of the primary concern for not only India, but each of the members of international community. Because as you know that the likely nature of warfare is going to be completely changing. It's not going to be a physical war anymore. They really would like to see that how best they acquire certain capability which can provide the edge in terms of destroying each other by attacking the networks. And once that is done, I don't think that nation states are interested in fighting a physical war, because physical war again will not give them any result, because as you know that many of these major powers are well equipped with a lot of their strategic assets which are largely for the deterrent purposes. So now the future of the world, the future of warfare is going to be completely different in terms of advances made in the information communication technology, and those information communication technology are going to be again targeted by this terrorist group. And these information communication technology also will feature mainly in terms of cooperating with each other and seeing that how best they can really address to their needs, largely from intelligence information sharing point of view. So I think it's again a circle, more advances, more vulnerability, And in that context, again, you want to become invulnerable. Again, the advances will happen to become invulnerable. You in further become vulnerable. So there is going to be a vulnerability paradox in this whole question of this counterterrorism effort, and that is going to be a major issue, not only between India and the US, but for all the countries across the globe. So I will stop it here. Maybe during Q&A, I can answer the questions. So thank you very much.